Hey everybody, how you guys doing today? My name is Nick, otherwise known here as Avialence, and I'm very happy to be bringing you guys my impressions of Titanfall. So I've been wanting to do this for quite some time, and this is a game that I was really stoked for. You guys know I really hyped this game up, especially after playing the beta, because it was supposed to revolutionize the multiplayer online first-person shooter world. That is quite a sentence. And, you know, I think to a degree, it was successful, right? I've spent a lot of time with the game at this point, and I feel comfortable kind of talking about a few features that I think needed to be in the game, and a few things that I think Titanfall did very well. So let's go ahead and start with the positives, right? Titanfall plays great. It's fluid. It features a lot of great mechanics, too, that I really appreciate. And it's kind of a back-to-the-basics thing that is fresh. It's refreshing, right? When it comes down to the weapons and when it comes down to the gear, a lot of these things don't have very many attachments. You have a small selection of weapons that you'll be able to choose from when you compare it to other games like Battlefield and Call of Duty, and these weapons only have around 4 to 5 attachments per gun. So it's a little limited in that nature, but it's honestly a little refreshing too, because it reminds me of the good old Halo days, right? When everything was perfectly balanced and you got a great competitive multiplayer game that you didn't really have to worry or complain about because of a few problems. Now, that being said, there is one weapon that is extremely overpowered in Titanfall, I feel, and that is the R101C carbine. You guys will see me using it in almost every video here. This thing basically outclasses every gun because it has no recoil. This is a gun that a lot of people were using in my playtime, and despite trying to use the DMR or the I believe it's the G2A1, which is a single-shot M14 rifle, I always went back to the R101C just because of this accuracy. It is extremely powerful, and I honestly feel a nerf coming on. I think if they added just a little more recoil, guys, a little more recoil, it'd be a little more evenly matched. Now, you know, when I talk about balancing too, I think that's something I should touch on here. The balancing of Titanfall is fantastic. I have quite enjoyed the balancing of Titanfall. The Titans and the pilots are balanced perfectly. You have a lot of the features that allow the pilots to go ahead and take out Titans, such as anti-Titan weapons, the whole rodeoing process, which is an absolute blast. And, you know, it all works well. It's balanced, it plays well, and it doesn't get old. Now, granted, you're going to have a lot of players that are playing with highly coordinated teams, and if you aren't with a coordinated team yourself, you're going to feel the pain. This game is really about coordination, especially since you have 6 Titans and 6 pilots on each team at all times on the battlefield after, you know, those Titanfalls have dropped down. But when it comes down to the longevity and if Titanfall lived up to the hype, you know, in essence, I think that there was a lot of great stuff here. You have the movement, and it feels refreshing too. You have the movement, which is great. You have the whole parkour system. It's phenomenal. It plays well. It's something that I haven't really seen in a video game, especially a multiplayer competitive shooter. I would compare it to Mirror's Edge, right? Mirror's Edge was one of my favorite games just because of what it did with parkour, and it feels like Mirror's Edge has a lot of influence in this game. There's a lot of wall running, a lot of quick-paced movement, and it's something that I think Titanfall does really well. It encourages you to move around the map, right? And that's something that really shines in the objective-based game modes such as Last Titan Standing, Capture the Flag, or Hardpoint Domination. It's refreshing. It's nice to see a lot of players moving around the map. And when you have those Titans too following you on auto guard, or if you have a couple teammates in Titans and a couple in pilots, it really provides for a unique experience. Now, that being said, there's a couple things that I want to address and bring to light here about Titanfall. I have played the crap out of this game, guys. I've had about 2 days of playtime since the week it's been out. I think it's been out for nearly a week, and I've been playing this a ton. You guys know this from my live stream. For all of you guys who watch my live streams, I did a lot of work on Titanfall last week. As a matter of fact, I'm still recovering, which is why I haven't been streaming this week, because I streamed so much Titanfall last week. But after playing that long, I don't know if maybe I binged on it too hard, or, you know, if it's something that doesn't really excite me anymore, but I don't feel an obligation to play Titanfall for hours on end at this point. After playing Titanfall for those 2 days, right, I still enjoy the game. I think it's fun. I'm not sick of the game, but it's not something I'm insanely addicted to either, right? It'll never get old, rather. It'll never get old rodeoing Titans. It'll never get old seeing a Titan fall into the sky, because that's addicting, that's great, that's epic, and it works for this game, right? It works very well. But what did kind of get old in Titanfall for me was the rank up system. Now, I know that I mentioned previously there are a small amount of weapons, a small amount of Titans. You have the 3 Titan chassis, which I wish there were more, to be honest with you, because when you think about it, after quite a lot of time with the game, you want something more to play with. You want something more to mess with. You have the Ogre, which is a shield boost. You have the Strider, which is a dash core boost, allows you to dash more. And then you have an Atlas, which is a damage core boost. What else could they do? Could they do a cloaking chassis, right? That could be interesting. And these are things that I hope they add in the DLC further down the road. Now, when it comes down to the weapons, too, you do have those limited attachments, which allows for very finite balancing. But at the same time, it feels like you unlock things too quickly, right? And when it came down to it, the unlocks were a little unevenly spread out, right? Most of the unlocks that I wanted to use in my character, like the big punch for my Titan and or the guardianship, are at the the highest levels. Guardianship was 49, and when I went ahead and unlocked guardianship, I was able to use that for a level before I went ahead and I upped my generation, which is their equivalent of prestiging, so to speak. That's the simplest accusation to make, right? That's the simplest comparison to make when it comes down to it. When you do the generation thing, it's quite nice. I think it works well. But again, it resets all your weapons, gives you a increased amount of XP, which is nice because it encourages you to keep leveling up quicker and quicker and quicker. But there's a story thing that was kind of missed there. And that's something that I feel Titanfall really, really hurt my feelings on, right? The story was so interesting. They had a giant gold mine of story elements to play around with here, and it really feels like those weren't executed. You have the small story campaign, which doesn't give you much information outside of the single mission. Go take this oil base. They don't tell you why they need the oil base, outside of we need fuel, right? And it's something that I think could have been blended a little better. For example, when I first heard about this game, when I first started thinking about it, I thought it was going to be more of a game that focused on something like Galactic Conquest in Star Wars The Old Republic, or I guess that's the mod, Star Wars Republic at War, so to speak, in Battlefront, right? And I thought we were going to be taking over planets, trying to secure planets, and halting and defending planets by picking a militia faction or an IMC when we first played, similar to The Last of Us multiplayer, but on a little bit more complex level. And unfortunately, that wasn't the truth. You swap between IMC and militia, even if you do the campaign, so you really don't feel allegiance to either one, and that's something that was a little disappointing to me. I remember me and my team were talking about picking IMC or militia, and we had a giant debate about it, but ended up, not worrying about it because guess what? It doesn't matter. And I feel that they could have made it matter. That's something that really killed it here. If Respawn had made the choice matter between IMC or militia, they would have been able to flesh out a much better story, in my opinion, and provide players with an experience that is truly that next generation experience. Now, granted, the wall running, the movement, the gunplay, it is a next-gen experience. It feels like a next-generation shooter that's very refreshing. But when it comes down to the story, it's something that I feel they really could have added because this game was dubbed, the next generation of online multiplayer. And when it comes down to it, there's a lot of these campaign elements that could have been more fleshed out. The campaign feels tacked on, right? It's a bunch of cutscenes that are displayed over a hardpoint or an attrition game. They don't even have a lot of the Last Titan Standing games or anything of that nature in the campaign. So it doesn't feel fleshed out. It feels like it was tacked on at the very end just because someone said it would be a good idea over coffee. Now, granted, Titanfall is absolutely worth your time. I'm not trying to deter you from that. Titanfall is great, especially for fans of a shooter. If you're looking for a good, solid shooter that you can play on a regular basis, Titanfall is your game. It is fun, it is a blast, and it is refreshing, which I cannot say the same for when it comes to Battlefield 4 and Call of Duty Ghosts. Now, I'm more interested to see what Respawn's going to do next with the funds they've accumulated from the successful Titanfall launch. I'm excited to see what they kind of implement. When it comes down to the AI, too, the AI on the map, this is an implementation I would love to see in the next Titanfall game. The AI on the map work great. They're there for cannon fodder, and I get that because they populate the map and make it look like a battle's going on. But what about the behind-the-scenes stuff, right? When you look up, you see these giant beasts walking around. There's this one map, I think it's called it's Dragon Ridge or something of that nature. And in this dragon map, you have literally flying dragons, as me and the guys called them, me and the team, so to speak, when we were playing, going around and picking up grunts and specters off the ground and throwing them or eating them. Why can't that happen to me? I want that to happen to me as a player because I don't feel like they're much of a threat and they're just a backdrop. Why not integrate that backdrop into something that's actually the game? You know, that's something I feel was really necessary. When it comes to create a class too, I mean, I would have loved to be able to name my custom classes instead of just having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Or have access to more weapon attachments, or be able to customize my pilot, right, with different armor sets, or be able to create an emblem for my pilot, or color my Titan black and put a pirate flag on it because I want a pirate flag on my Titan, and no one's going to stop me from wanting that. All in all, though, now that I've gone into my customization rage, all in all, though, it does have a lot of good concepts, right? The burn cards, the wall running, everything of that nature works well, looks great in Titanfall, and I'm really excited to see what Respawn does with it in the future. But, you know, it's something that I think will take them a little bit of time. So that's kind of my overall thoughts on Titanfall. I've spent a lot of time with the game. I'm still going to be playing it and making videos for it here. But I'm a little disappointed, so to speak, because it didn't live up to the hype, right? I feel like it did not live up to the hype. Now, then again, that's just my personal opinion. That's what these Impressions videos are. A casual discussion about video games. But I'd love to hear from you guys. Do you guys feel that Titanfall lived up to the hype? Do you feel that it kind of bred what you wanted it to be? Is it what you wanted it to be? Because I feel a little let down, although I'm not completely disappointed. I'm 100% happy with my purchase, and I plan on playing a lot of Titanfall in the future. So let me know in the comments below, and guys, if you have enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like so I know to keep doing these Impressions videos here on the YouTube. I love doing these, and as long as you guys keep watching them, we'll stay in business. So anyway, guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for more Impressions videos on most of the AAA titles and other indie games. And if you already have, I will talk to you guys in the next video. Until then, my name has been Avialence, and I hope you guys enjoyed this casual discussion about Titanfall.